Welcome, everyone. Sean Cornett, St. Louis National Consultant with Ambit Energy. It's my honor to have you here again. We've got another incredible interview lined up for you here today. I've got a guy that I know extremely well. He's the guy that I'm very thankful for didn't give up on me back when I was ignoring his phone calls because I wasn't interested in the opportunity, even though I needed it incredibly bad at the time. I was the guy that ignored phone call after phone call after phone call from this guy. And I think he's very thankful that he was pretty persistent because things turned out pretty good for both of us. So please help me welcome Steve Thompson, number 3 income earner and all of Ambit Energy. Steve, you there?
Hey, Sean, good to be here.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you. And, you know, we've done a number of these interviews and chit chats over the years, but I'm excited about this one because it's always good to have video, in play to see us as we're kind of chit chatting back and forth and talking shop. And, you know, one thing I would love to do, and maybe it's just me wanting to, enjoying the process of reminiscing about the early years, but take us back to the early years and talk to maybe share just a little bit about, kind of what it was like back in maybe the first year or 2 or 3 of Ambit Energy when we were kind of really picking up steam and starting to become the company that we are today. I think, and part of the reason I say that is because I think we've lost a little bit of that excitement, a little bit of that urgency that we had in the early years. You know, we've kind of gotten to be this big behemoth of a company now, and I just feel like we've lost a little bit about that energy, but yet the opportunity is greater today than it was then. So maybe just touch on that if you would.
You're so right. You know, it was 10 years ago this month that I started my Ambit Energy business. I'd already been in the network marketing industry for a lot of years, and I was actually one of the top money earners in another company in another industry in travel. And I heard about Ambit, but because of my history, I knew if anybody got in and did it right, it'd be huge. Now that's where it all changed because I walked in and Ambit was truly a startup. Hardly anybody there. They've been in business a few months, but most of the people, no offense, we're kind of amateurs at building network marketing. And a few of us went in that had some experience. And what I saw is while other people were getting ready to get started, I could just hit the ground running because I knew ultimately it's going to be huge. I never had a doubt about that, but I wanted to make sure that I got more than my share of what would come along just from working it like a status quo business. So a lot of the sense of urgency in the early days was free for all. And the fact that, as I went around opening different territories, there was no one else there. There was no system to lean on. If it was to be, it was up to me. You had to get out there and work it. And I'm so grateful, not just for the timing. The timing was terribly difficult. There were no tools. There were no systems, no belief, no one else to expose it or help you or support you. But I'm so excited that I was put under that pressure because I literally worked it like my hair was on fire. Like if I didn't get it right now, and again, right now, it just wouldn't happen. And that's what allowed me to blow up my income to where, by the time I was in my second year, I'd already broken 6 figures a month, just one time at first. But it was amazing what you could do because you were working every day and every moment of every day with a sense of urgency. Now you fast forward 10 years later, we're $1.5 billion company. We're in 16 states and all these different states that people join that, aren't even in it because they know how successful we've got the track to drive on, the tools, EGR, everything is laid out, presentations all over the country. But that lulls people into thinking, oh, I'm just a small part of a big, slow moving system. So I just don't see people get as excited with a sense of urgency to do it right now. And I'm so glad that in the early days we had that. 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we were opening every new territory, and every new territory, it was either get it or lose it forever. And now, like right now we're opening Cleveland, we're opening new areas, and people say, well, I'm going to kind of dip my toe in the water, see what it feels like, and I'll play with it a little bit and try it. We didn't try it. When the first market I opened really was Houston, Texas, and I wasn't trying Houston. I went in there on fire to see if I could control Houston, Texas. And every subsequent market after that was the same thing. Let's get it. It's got to happen right now. So I think that's what's changed, because now people get in, they see all the millionaires and all the success, and they just kind of get on the train and move along, not realizing that it's not just one track we run on. It's one system we run on, but you can build your own track and go just as quickly as you want to. And that's where my big success comes from. In the early years, I worked it harder than I've ever worked anything in my life, faster and with more sense of urgency. And it set me up for a lifetime. It's why I live the life I live now. There's two ways to build a business: slow or fast. And fast is just better.
Well, not only is it better, it's more fun too, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. I have some great memories of going into new markets, and even in my hometown, opening the first meetings and, wondering if anybody'd show up. And since you were wondering, you went out and called on all the local offices and everywhere you could meet people with a sense of urgency to get them to come. Now we tend to open a market and say, well, let's put out some emails and see who shows up.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because I can remember hearing stories, and I remember when you were, I don't even think I was in or joined, you were just sharing stories about some of your exploits in Houston, as you're opening that market, and talking about, going in and meeting with real estate offices. And, it's kind of like, okay, you get somebody that's interested in it. It's okay. Who do you know right now that we can go talk to right now? The urgency of the right now. And you'd go from one person that said, okay, yeah, let's do this. And all of a sudden, 2 hours later, you'd be talking to a group of people that they know.
That's exactly what happened. And we did that all day, culminating in the evening meeting. Consequently, we had big dynamic meetings. And, as we both know in this industry, people don't do a lot at a chance of gain. They do it out of fear of loss. And when that sense of urgency is the modus operandi, then that's fear of loss is what moves people to not miss out, to be there, to be part of it. And that's why we grew so fast with so few people.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you think about Ambit, just, as a company, started a lot like, one person's individual business, just with a couple people. And it just grew from there to now $1.5 billion. It's kind of crazy looking back over it. So, and that's certainly going all out, and not that we don't encourage somebody to go all out, but what would you give somebody as, kind of a game plan for an everyday game plan for their business? What does that look like ideally?
Well, I'm a big believer in the 30-day blitz, so I don't want to leave that out. When you join, you are starting the very beginning of your business. I don't care when it is, whether it was 10 years ago with us or it's right now, and you've got to blitz immediately to get some flow of people and things happening. But from then on, what I recommend to most part-time people, and frankly, most people are part-time, and they should start this with a consistent, persistent effort on a daily basis. And I break that down to a code I call 222. And that's start with, you have to make a list. You have to have a written list of prospects. You have to prioritize that list using whichever system you want. But then each day you have to make sure and contact 2 people off your written list. And each day follow up with 2 people that you contacted before. And each day go out and meet 2 new people to start a friendship so you can add them to your list for later. I don't recommend cold calling, prospecting strangers other than the day of a meeting or something. What I recommend is, I've been around a long time, and I've been around the industry a long time, and I have people all the time tell me, well, I've called everybody I know. And I usually say, well, now that you've called both of them, what can we do next? And the key to that is have a big written list to start with, and then add new people to your list on a daily basis. And, you learn that when you're in kindergarten. Hi, my name's Steve. You just go meet people and talk about family, occupation, recreation, and money, form, and they'll tell you everything you need to know about them and why someday Ambit may fit their need. So it really comes down to this simple: 2 prospecting calls should never take more than 5 or 6 minutes for a call. So you're talking about 10, 15 minutes worth of prospecting phone calls, another 10 or 15 minutes worth of follow-up calls, and meet 2 new people. We're down to way under an hour a day spent building your business, but that's 2 a day, even just 5 days a week. That's 10 prospects a week. And, 8 out of 10 are going to say no, they won't look, but 2 will say yes, at least one of them will look. That means every 2 weeks, you've got about 3 people looking at the business. And 1 out of every 3 that looks thoroughly at the business joins the business. So you're a regional consultant in a month. senior consultant a month or two later. And then 6 months later, you're an executive consultant and probably have the ability to quit your job, but it takes that kind of persistence. And people always say, well, if it's that simple, why don't they do it? Well, it's the one thing you can't have in this business and be successful, and that's procrastination. You can't use that at all. You can't, I tease and say, people tell me, well, I'll do it every day. Well, except Tuesdays, because, Tuesday's my bowling night, and probably not Thursday, because Thursday is, this social group, or, tea days are just not working for me. And they start lagging in. Eventually they'll say, I can't really do it on Saturday or Tunday either. And they procrastinate themselves. And the important thing to know is numbers never lie. This business is built on the law of large numbers. It either works for you or against you. But if instead of 10 people a week in your prospect list and 10 follow-up calls, if you're only making 2 or 3, you didn't just knock 60, 70%, you probably wiped 95% of your potential out, because it's all geometric progression. It's that two people, and every 2 weeks, that's at least one that joins. Now, the next 2 weeks, you and he are both doing two people. And over the weeks and months and years, it becomes an army of people. Everybody just does a little. Nobody has to do a lot. And you build a huge successful organization. But going back to the start, if you're just joining us today, 2's not enough. You don't have anybody to follow up with. Let's make sure we're calling 6, 8, 10 people a day for the first week or so. And then you're blitzing like that for whatever you can stand for your first 30 days. Again, to be one of those people that get your business off to a fast start rather than a slow start. You only get one chance at a first impression. And the first impression is not just what you say to someone. More importantly, it's what they see you doing. And when you finally do sign a consultant up, which will happen, they really didn't start the business, they just joined. But their real training is, how did you present it to them, and what are you doing for your business? And if they see you talking consistently a couple people every day, they just do the same thing.
That's exactly right. So true. So true. So, this might be a little bit out of order, because we were kind of talking earlier about what it took for you to, when you were launching Houston and the new markets. But, things are a little bit different now. I mean, we're not, when you just started, it was Texas, and you could drive right over to Houston, and we could, within a couple hours get to almost any, the major cities in Texas, because you were right in the middle of them all there in Austin. Now that we're 16 states spread out across really the entire country, from coast to coast, and, a lot of places in between. It's a little different launching a new territory, and Ambit continues to launch new territories. And word has it there might be some pretty gigantic news in that world of expansion here soon. So, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who really wanted to be a part of and make a big splash in some of our coming expansions?
Well, first off, the fact that we're in all those places, there's over 250 local presentations every week now. That means your list is accessible to you. Yes, I could drive to Houston or Dallas, but I had to literally drive there, or they weren't going to see the business. There weren't even any videos then. Now, it doesn't matter where your prospect on your list lives. You can not only contact them, show them EGR, but then you can toggle over to show them a live presentation, let them meet local leadership, see other people having success in the business. And that's how you build it. We're about to open Cleveland, and you're not going to build Cleveland by just waiting till someday and go to Cleveland. Instead, what you're going to have to do is call people now and say, who do you know that knows somebody that might know somebody in Cleveland? And I need to talk to them right now. The beauty is, I'm going to be there. Chris Atkinson's launching it the first weekend. 2 weeks later, I'll be there. There's a whole horde of leaders going up to hold presentations. So now all you have to do is 222. Follow the system, show them the video, so that if they're not interested, you can eliminate them and not spend time with them. If they are interested, if they don't join on the spot, then you funnel them to the next stage, which is the highest stage in belief level, which is going to a meeting with a lot of other people that are seeing it live and sharing their ideas.
Awesome. Awesome. And of course, we've got a new tool we just rolled out here as well that we're actually practicing for right now with this live broadcast. Of course, most people will watch this recorded, but You know, we've got these live in-home closing videos that we're broadcasting across the country in both Central and Eastern time zones every Tuesday evening. How would you, you know, talk to somebody about utilizing that type of tool?
Well, that's fantastic, because take right now, we're going to do one tonight. And if you've got people in the Cleveland, which is not even open until November 4th, you've got people in the Cleveland, Ohio, or any of those areas up there, all you have to do is get them to watch the Energy Gold Rush video and tell them watch it early enough so that at 7:45 there's either Central or Eastern time, they can watch, and it'll be a live dynamic close by someone like myself, or tonight will be myself, that can share with them their personal experience in the business and guidance to get off to a good start. We just didn't have things like that in the past. Now there's no reason you can't use this tonight to open up any of hundreds of different cities and towns that are available to us right now. So it just makes it more efficient.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me see here. I got a couple questions to close on here. First of all, you know, you and I, we've worked together over the years to develop tools and systems. And, you know, one of the tools, obviously, that we've worked closely over the years is Energy Gold Rush. And we've done quite a bit of updating to it here recently. But, you know, let me ask you a question, you know, because it's, you know, I feel like sometimes I'm beating a dead horse on some of these things, but why do you use Energy Gold Rush? What is it that stands out to you that makes it the tool that you use to share Ambit Energy with?
Thanks to you and effort, having people like myself be involved, it's the beauty of hand building a system that uses only the most tried and true systems or parts of a system that make it successful. That's what Energy Gold Rush is to me. I know if I send someone to Energy Gold Rush, probably in the 5-minute video, they're either interested in more or they're not. And, you know, a lot of people think it's designed to sign them up. It's not. It's designed to get rid of them in the first 5 minutes. If they're not interested, they're one of that 7 or 8 that are not. Because the greatest mistake I ever made in my career, the first decade I was in this, I spent way too much time with the wrong people. And to avoid spending time with the wrong people, you have to learn how to identify them. And you can't identify them. They identify themselves. And there's nothing better than the 5-minute Energy Gold Rush, because if they just log in to watch the 15-minute portion, they're interested. They're worthy of your time. And now with the new tools, you can look back and see how many minutes of it they watch, what part they lost. And, you know, I'm crazy about the app, because now when I'm sending it to somebody, instead of emailing them a link, I can text them a link. They don't even have to log in to watch it, because the system automatically knows who they are and sends me the report. So I know, what did they watch? How long did they watch it? Did they watch it more than once? I love those when you send it to somebody and they log in 3 or 4 times. That means they're already building the business. They just hadn't even talked to you yet. So it's all been brought together into a very efficient thing. And it's mostly time efficient for the consultant. If you're having 10, 15, 20, 30-minute conversations with people, you're going about this all wrong. You need to have 2, 3-minute conversations. Get them to give you 5 minutes and watch the video, and just tell them like I do. If you like that, go on and watch 15 more minutes, and then we'll get your questions answered. If you don't, then just let me know, and we'll sign you up as a customer, save you some money, and I won't bug you anymore. And they also won't take any more of your time, so you can move on looking for the right people. It's the best tool. I've been in the industry way over 20 years, and it's the most comprehensive tool I've ever seen or used in the business. And frankly, Sean, it's the only tool I use.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the videos and supporting obviously us as we've developed it, and giving your feedback and input and advice. And certainly we look to continue making it better and better as time goes on as well. So any final thoughts or things you want to share with folks here before we wrap?
In my opinion, we've had a wonderful first decade, and we've set all kinds of records. But you watch, the next 5 years will eclipse everything we did in the first 10. So you ever wanted to be in the right place at the right time, you've got to do it now and take action on it now, because when you start adding billions of revenue over a 4 or 5 year period, you're talking about huge financial growth. Guys, all you got to do is get excited, stay focused, and never quit.
That's exactly it. Well, thank you, Steve, so much for being a part of the broadcast again. And we'll see you live here this evening on EGR Live, in-home meeting broadcast. So thanks so much. Take care, guys.
Thanks for having me, Sean.